Hello, my name is Dr. Dewan S. Raja. Today I will discuss about the development of tongue. The tongue begins to develop at the end of the fourth week as a median elevation called median tongue bud or lingual bud, also called tuberculum impar. This is here, okay, in the floor of the primordial pharynx. Then what happened? To lateral lingual swelling develops on each side of the medial lingual swelling. Eventually, the lateral lingual swelling outgrow the median lingual swelling or the tuberculum impar. Okay, so these two lateral lingual swelling forms about anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Okay. This lingual bud, all of them are derivatives of the first arch. This is the first arch. All of them are coming from the first arch. The median lingual swelling has no contribution in the developed tongue. It comes, then it is overgrown by two lateral lingual swelling, so that there is no contribution from the tuberculum impar or median lingual swelling. And this is located just in front of the foramen cecum of the tongue. Foramen cecum is a depression through which the thyroid gland begins to develop from this part. It goes down from here, from the foramen cecum. Just behind the foramen cecum, we have the copula that initially attempts to contribute the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Eventually, that also has no contribution in the development of the developed tongue. So the median lingual swelling, copula, both of them comes initially, but they have ultimately no contribution in the development of the tongue. Okay, we got that. Now I'll go to the second slide here. Okay, now I'll go to the development of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. So first arts contribute in the formation of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, that is mostly formed by the lateral lingual swelling. The posterior 1/3 of the tongue is contributed by the second, third, and fourth arch. Okay, but the second arch ultimately it loses its contribution, so it is mostly the third arch and partly by the fourth arch that contribute in the formation of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Okay, so the copula from second pharyngeal arch, mesenchyme, this is the copula area here, and hypobranchial eminence from third and fourth arch is the hypobranchial eminence. Okay, the copula disappears and the hypobranchial eminence overgrow. So what was present here just behind the foramen cecum, copula, that will be overgrown by the hypopharyngeal eminence. So the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is contributed mostly by the hypopharyngeal or hypobranchial eminence that is contributed from third arch and the fourth arch. So first arch nerve is the lingual nerve. Second arch nerve is the facial nerve. Third arch nerve is the glossopharyngeal nerve. Fourth arch nerve is the superior laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. Okay. So extreme posterior part of the tongue is here. Okay. That is contributed by the fourth arch also, that is close to the epiglottis. So if we go here, okay, development of the tongue, terminal sulcus, the line of fusion between the anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3 of the tongue. This is the sulcus terminalis, also called terminal sulcus. most of the muscle of the tongue is derived from occipital myotome. So the tongue is innervated by the hypoglossal nerve mostly, with one exception, palatoglossus, that is innervated by the vagus nerve. We have to remember that connective tissue and the vasculature of the tongue are derived from cranial neural crest cell. According to our latest book, it is from the cranial neural crest cell. So this is our tongue, anterior two-third, that is derived from the lateral lingual swellings, and those are the first pharyngeal arch derivative nerve supply, mandibular division of trigeminal nerve, the lingual nerve. The posterior one-third of the tongue mostly contributed by hypopharyngeal eminence. So that is a part of the third and fourth arch. Third arch, nerve supply, glossopharyngeal nerve, extreme posterior part close to the epiglottis. That part is getting innervation from the superior laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. The posterior one-third tongue mucosa extend forward. So this part, just in front of the sulcus terminalis, we have the valate papillae area. This part innervated by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay. Lingual papilla appears towards the end of the 8th week. Valate papilla, also called circumvallate papilla, and folic papilla appear close to the cranial nerve number 9, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve. The fungiform papilla develops near the termination of the chordae tympani nerve, that is a branch of the facial nerve. And cranial nerve number 9 is the glossopharyngeal nerve. Filiform papilla are the most common, developed during 10th to 11th week. But remember that the filiform papilla contain afferent nerve endings sensitive to touch. It does not contain any taste bud. It is not connected to the gustatory nerve. Okay, so that is the filiform papilla afferent nerve, that is general sensation. No taste bud here. Taste buds are developed by inductive interaction between the epithelial cells of the tongue and the gustatory nerve cell, like that of the 7th cranial nerve, chordae tympani, glossopharyngeal nerve, and vagus nerve. So that is inductive interaction between the epithelial cell and the gustatory nerve cell. So if we go to the nerve supply, general sensation from anterior two-thirds of the tongue by lingual nerve, branch of mandibular nerve, branch of trigeminal nerve. Taste sensation from anterior two-thirds of the tongue by chordae tympani, branch of facial nerve, anterior two-thirds of the tongue excluding the valate papillae, the area just in front of the sulcus terminalis. That part is getting innervation by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Otherwise, anterior two-thirds of the tongue getting innervation from the facial nerve branch, chordae tympani. Okay, there is for spatial sensation, taste sensation. The valate papillae innervation by the glossopharyngeal nerve, because the mucosa from posterior one-third moves forward a little bit. So it covers the valate papilla. Posterior one-third of the tongue, both general sensation and taste sensation by the 9th cranial nerve or glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay. Extreme posterior part of the tongue, that is close to the epiglottis, that is innervated by the superior laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. All the tongue muscles except palatoglossus are innervated by hypoglossal nerve because they are derived from the occipital myotome. But the palatoglossus is an exception. It is innervated by the vagus nerve. Posterior one-third of the tongue has lingual tonsil. The tonsillar substance are the lymphoid tissue. They are derived from the mesoderm. Initially, it is mesenchyme, the embryonic form of mesoderm. Okay. So now we learn some of the congenital anomalies that is very important to us. Congenital anomalies of the tongue, we may have lingual cyst or fistula. Cyst means a cavity containing fluid. Fistula, that means a cavity containing fluid. It is communicated to the surface or to another cavity. So we may have cyst or fistula from the remnant of the thyroglossal duct. Thyroglossal duct start from the foramen cecum, that is behind the median lingual swelling and in front of the copula. Ankyloglossia, tongue tie, short frenulum of the tongue. So person cannot protrude tongue. Tongue is fixed to the floor of the mouth because of lack of degeneration of the fold on the undersurface of the tongue to the floor of the tongue. That is called ankyloglossia. It may cause some disturbance during lactation, otherwise it may be without any problem. Okay. Macroglossia associated with lymphangioma, tumor of the lymphoid tissue, Down syndrome, and Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. We might have bifid or cleft tongue, that is very rare. So macroglossia associated with Down syndrome, Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. It may also be present with that of congenital hypothyroidism, we call it cretinism. Ankyloglossia, we just discussed, the tongue is almost fixed to the floor of the mouth, so person cannot protrude the tongue because of the tongue tie. Okay, so this is the short frenulum. Here the thyroid gland descend from this way. We may have lingual thyroid tissue may be present in the tongue, or this passage from cecum to the future thyroid gland space. We may have intake tube, thyroglossal duct. It may be cystic formation or it may be inflamed there. Okay, there is a possibility. So there may be constant collection of fluid here. There may be discharge of fluid if there is any fistula there, or there may be not be any thyroid gland here. Thyroid gland may be inside the tongue, that may be functional. We call it lingual thyroid. Okay, or maybe partly in the thyroid, partly in front of the trachea. That is also possible. Okay, so we have some highlight: median tongue bud and 2 distal lateral tongue bud. This has no contribution eventually. These two contribute in the formation of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue plus the median septum in between between two sides of the tongue. Pharyngeal arch for the anterior 2/3, median sulcus, junction between the anterior 2/3 and the posterior 1/3. Pharyngeal arch 1 contribute in the formation of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Filiform papilla has no taste bud. It is not connected to the gustatory cranial nerve like that of 7th, 9th or 10th cranial nerve. It is connected to the lingual nerve. Okay. Copula and hypopharyngeal eminence initially attempt to contribute to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Eventually this will disappear. This is the contributor to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Terminal sulcus is the junction between anterior 2/3 of the tongue and the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Occipital myotome contribute in the tongue muscle except palatoglossus, which is innervated by the vagus nerve, but all other muscle, those are actually all of them are coming except palatoglossus are coming from the occipital myotome. They are not supplied from the hypoglossal nerve, the 12th cranial nerve. No contribution from the median tongue bud and copula. Okay, and no contribution from the second pharyngeal arch to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Third and fourth pharyngeal arch forms the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Okay, we got that, because from second arch we get the copula, and copula has no contribution. Eventually, copula will disappear. Foramen cecum is in between the median tongue bud and the copula. Okay, and these are my references, and that's all about the development of the tongue, its congenital defects, anterior 2/3, posterior 1/3. So if you like my video, please support my channel, please subscribe me, share the information with your friends, and have a wonderful day. Bye now.